If you've been following some of my other videos, you'll know where I left off with this. I was just getting ready to split the case on this transmission. This is out of a 2016 Yxz1000r. I'm getting ready to do the GYTR torque assist gear reduction kit. But for now, just getting it tore down. Really just wanted to see what I was up against. That being said, I'm actually really relieved as to how simple this really is. As far as getting everything out of there, you know, the last thing I did was split the case in half, remove the last couple bolts, split the case in half, and I was left with essentially what you see right here. This is the gear sets, the final drive gear. This would be the shaft that would go to the rear drive shaft. This goes out to the front. You got 3 shift forks. I got my hand right in the way. 3 shift forks. There's one on this side with the longer shaft. I'm sorry, 2 over here. 1 over here with the shorter shaft. Basically, all I did was slid these 2 shafts out, and they would have been here and here. And at that point, that freed up these shift forks, and I was able to reach in there with 2 hands and take all of this out in one pull. All these gears, the shift forks and everything, I was able to pick up and set down right on the bench, just like you see them here. So nothing has moved, nothing's been flipped. Now, one of the biggest things I was nervous about, that I discovered really wasn't anything to be nervous about at all. You take these out, this gear set right here is all contained. There's nothing else here. No gears are going to go flying, nothing's going to get out of whack. This is all one piece. So until I pull the clips on either end, this really can't change. It's really obvious where this shift fork's going to go. Slide that right back in there. This one's going to be exactly the same. It's all contained. It's all one piece. It can't move. You really can't screw that up without deliberately taking it apart. Now, this one is the final drive shaft. This is actually the gear that's going to be getting replaced. Now you can see how all this meshes up quite nicely, obviously. What you have here is your 5 gears, and this last one, I believe, is going to be the reverse. If I got this correct, you got first gear, second gear, third gear, fourth gear, which is pretty close to 1-to-1, what it looks like, and then 5th gear. So it looks like the ratio starts to turn the other direction at that point. This one over here is going to be your reverse. And that's where this other gear that comes out, it's one of the first ones you take out. As you can see, these 2 don't actually mesh right here. That's where this one comes in play. Basically, that function is going to spin it in reverse when the shift forks are in the position to lock in this outer gear, and that's how you get reverse, through this final gear there. Couple things. Shift forks, basically these are just little grooves, kind of cams. As this rotates, it moves those shift forks in different positions. Now this one, it's got the notch out of it right there. That's going to be neutral. And as you can see, right down here where my finger's at, there's a little nub on there, and that's going to come down and hit that switch right there. I'm willing to bet that is the neutral switch. Tell you that you are in fact in neutral. So pretty easy to line this up. Actually, it's going to have to come out, because obviously this whole case is going to get replaced, but I haven't pulled that one yet. Oil pump over here. Kind of neat how that works. This is your actual direct drive input from the engine right here. So this is what comes up here and links up to the clutch basket, the gears there. And it also turns this oil pump. The oil pump, this little passage right here, is actually the sump. This is the bottom of the transmission. Over here is the top. So it's going to pull that oil in here. It's going to pump it through a passage coming over here. This is another passage that's created when the halves are together. And from this point on, it's going to go in here. And at that point, it's going to fill up all these bearings. And then each one of these shafts is actually hollow. So that oil pressure is going to come up through those shafts. And if you look, I don't know if you can see them or not, see the little holes right there? Each one of these shift forks has a port right there where that oil is going to come out to keep everything lubed up. It's going to come out of the end of the shaft over here. Well, actually, that's where your push rod for the clutch is going to go. But there's 2 ports inside this shaft here. This is what's going to oil that clutch. So it's really important to make sure that these are open, these are clear, they're not full of dirt or anything, to make sure that oil's flowing like it should. Another thing I found interesting is this other shaft over here for this reverse gear. If I can find the spot, you can see there's 3 ports in there, 1, 2, and 3. This shaft is actually keyed on the end, and it goes in. It's pretty simple to make sure that gets lined up right there. Those ports at that point are going to be facing down, so essentially what that does is just going to rain oil over this whole gear set as that oil pump is turning. So I found it interesting, you may not, but that's kind of how all that works. But anyways, as far as the job on hand, this is going to be the piece getting replaced. Now if you look, there's little keepers inside there, and what I'm actually going to have to do, and you as well, if you're doing this, is compress this spring. Now this system here, as far as I can tell, is kind of a dampener system they put on here. So in the event of a big impact, example, if you're jumping, doing anything like that, this is going to absorb some of the impact of the force coming back into the transmission. So this actually has some room. It's kind of almost like a cam. It's going to compress this spring, and that's going to have some give back and forth, and allow that to absorb some of the blows from running these things too hard. Now, this spring is going to need compressed so that you can lower this gear and get those keepers out. Now, all I can say, obviously I haven't done it yet, but that sounds kind of scary to me. I think it's something you definitely want to have a nice shop press that's good and solid, that's nothing's going to slip, because that is a badass spring right there. So if you don't have those keepers all the way in or all the way out and they get caught, this gear could probably just about go through the ceiling if you're not paying attention. So definitely use some caution there. This looks like something that could really wreak some havoc if you didn't know what you were doing or got lazy, weren't careful with it. So anyways, that's kind of the general breakdown of this transmission. As I said before, a lot simpler than I expected it to be. My confidence, being as I've never done this before, is definitely a lot higher. Seeing as how, you know, one of my big mottos, if you understand how something works, you should be able to fix it. And this is actually pretty simple. There's nothing really to adjust or set. You know, I've been really keeping my eyes out for different washers and spacers and stuff like that, but there really isn't a whole lot. Everything kind of is sandwiched in by 2 sets of bearings. So putting this thing back together, I don't really think you can do it wrong, as long as you're careful. Now there is this other piece up here. This I unbolted from what would be the front of the transmission. Basically, as far as I can tell, what that is another dampener system that actually is specifically for the front drive shaft. I know these machines are advertised as having kind of a slipper clutch dampener system to decrease impacts on the front differential. I could be wrong, so feel free to correct me, but I believe that's what this is. As far as I can tell, all you got to do is take it off, set it out of the way, and then you'll bolt it back up to the new case with a new gasket when that time comes. So at this point, I got everything laid out. Wait for parts to get here. Definitely do a lot of cleaning, flush all this out. I believe the kit comes with new bearings and everything, so probably don't have to worry about pulling these ones out. I could be wrong, but as far as that goes, I think that's where I'm going to leave you off with this project. I may do some more videos once I get the new parts in, if I come across any obstacles or anything technical. But my opinion, if you've gotten yourself to this point and you got stuff laid out and you feel pretty good about it, the rest of the project should be pretty easy. You know, obviously these gears are going to need change, but it's just a clip on there. Sure, you just slide that off. Be careful to pay attention to what you're sliding off in order. I believe these 2 gears get changed, and I believe there's something changed with first gear too. Not 100% sure. Like I said, do some more research. doesn't hurt to get a book. I'm not much of a reader myself, but you know, I'm probably going to have to get the correct torque specs and everything to put this thing back together. So anyways, I appreciate you guys following me on this little project here. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them. If I said something I shouldn't have that's not correct, feel free to call me out on it. You know, I'm always learning too. So anyways, please subscribe, like it, share it, do whatever, and we'll see you again real soon with some other videos. Thanks.